In our headlines on this Thursday, May 7th, here in South Korea, Iran is reportedly reviewing a one-page U.S. proposal to end tensions in the Strait of Hormuz and to eradicate Tehran's nuclear ambitions as the Trump administration demands a deal in the near future. And a cargo carrier operated by South Korea that suffered a fire after an explosion in the Strait of Hormuz will soon dock at a port in Dubai, paving the path for a comprehensive probe as a Seoul team of investigators departs for the UAE. The government is maintaining its petroleum price cap for the fifth session in a row starting tomorrow, that is Friday, to ease the impact of the unrest in the Middle East on the South Korean economy. Speaking to members of the media at the White House on Wednesday, U.S. President Donald Trump claims Washington and Tehran have had very good talks over the last 24 hours and that prospects of a deal are high. Our Kim Jun-hong has the latest.
U.S. President Donald Trump said Wednesday that talks with Iran are progressing well and that the chance of reaching a deal is high. Speaking to reporters at the White House, Trump reaffirmed Washington's long-standing position that Tehran should not possess nuclear weapons. He also said that Iran had agreed to abandon nuclear ambitions, a claim that Iran has not yet confirmed.
In the case of Iran, we're not going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And we're not going to let that happen. And we won't let that happen.
He added that the United States will see whether Iran can make a deal that is satisfactory to Washington, and said the situation is very much under control. CNN reported on the same day that Washington and Tehran are discussing a possible MOU aimed at ending the war. According to the report, a one-page proposal currently under internal discussion includes a temporary halt to Iran's uranium enrichment program, the unfreezing of Iranian assets, and guarantees for security in the Strait of Hormuz. Trump also told reporters that any deal would require Tehran to transfer its stockpile of highly enriched uranium to the United States and shut down its underground nuclear facilities. Iran said it is still reviewing the U.S. proposal. A foreign ministry spokesperson quoted by Iran's ISNA news agency said Tehran will relay its official position to Pakistani mediators after internal consultations. But the spokesperson dismissed reports that a final agreement is close, calling some of the media coverage speculative. Trump said the deal could be finalized before his planned trip to China next week, but warned that military action could resume if the negotiations fall through. Kim Jun-hong, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, a cargo carrier operated by South Korea that suffered a fire after an explosion in the Strait of Hormuz will soon dock at a port in Dubai, paving the path for a comprehensive probe. Our Cha Yun-kyung reports.
The HMM Namu, a South Korean-operated bulk carrier that's been stranded in the Strait of Hormuz for more than 2 months, is now being towed toward Dubai. An engine room explosion and fire on Monday left the vessel disabled at sea. The ship's owner, HMM, said it contacted a company in the United Arab Emirates for a tow to Dubai port and could arrive as early as Thursday local time. Around 70 kilometers away, it is expected to take over 8 hours. Once docked, South Korean authorities will begin a full investigation into the cause of the unexplained explosion and fire. A special government team comprising 3 investigators from the Korea Maritime Safety Tribunal and 4 experts from the National Fire Agency headed to Dubai late Wednesday and arrived in early Thursday morning local time. The team is expected to analyze the ship itself and footage from CCTV built inside the vessel and meet face-to-face with the crew. The investigation is also expected to examine claims made by U.S. President Donald Trump that the ship may have acted independently inside the restricted area near the Strait of Hormuz and then was shot at by Iran. However, Iran denied any military involvement in the damage to the Korean ship. HMM also denied those allegations, stating that the ship had been waiting near the control line for restrictions to be lifted but was not within the expanded control zone. Cha Yun-kyung, Arirang News.
And here in South Korea, the government is maintaining its petroleum price cap for the 5th session in a row. The latest limit goes into effect tomorrow, that is Friday, and its exact size will be disclosed in about 2 hours' time. Our economics correspondent Kim Do-yeon has more.
Deputy Prime Minister Koo In-chul says Korea's petroleum price cap system is effectively shielding the domestic economy from ongoing geopolitical uncertainties in the Middle East. Government data indicates the price cap and fuel tax cuts successfully lowered consumer price index growth for April by an estimated 1.2 percentage points. This kept domestic inflation at 2.6%, demonstrating significant stability compared to other major economies like the United States and the United Kingdom, which are currently recording inflation rates above 3%. To prevent side effects like sales evasion or hoarding, the government is extending its ban on petroleum product market manipulation by 2 additional months through July. Authorities are stepping up enforcement by introducing new administrative fines and utilizing reward system. Building on these measures, Korea will implement its 5th round of petroleum price caps starting at midnight on May 8th. The exact price ceiling will be officially announced at 7 p.m. on Thursday following a review of international oil price trends and domestic consumption. The government is also expediting customs procedures to secure up to 33 million barrels of Canadian crude oil annually under free trade agreement preferential tariff rates. Authorities are also prioritizing raw materials for essential medical products like syringes and IV fluid packaging. Health insurance reimbursement rates for medical materials will increase by 2% to reflect the recent surge in exchange rates. 김도현, Arirang News.
And South Korea's foreign reserves stood at $427.9 billion as of the end of April. According to the Bank of Korea, the sum is a rise of $4.2 billion on month, driven by a hike in the value of securities that gained $6.4 billion to hit $384.1 billion. Now, these securities account for almost 90% of the total reserves, which strengthen a country's capacity to navigate global market fluctuations. South Korea is the world's 12th largest foreign reserves holder as of the end of March. A parliamentary vote for constitutional amendment was declared invalid in the absence of a quorum on this Thursday afternoon. The ruling Democratic Party asserts the amendment will bolster guardrails against martial law declarations, but the main opposition People Power Party insists the bill is politically motivated ahead of the June local elections. Accordingly, PPP lawmakers boycotted the plenary session for the vote. Nonetheless, the DP plans to put the vote on the floor yet again tomorrow, that is Friday. In the meantime, some 110 non-controversial bills secured bipartisan support today. In other news, intelligence officials here believe North Korea is easing its bellicose rhetoric towards South Korea. Our foreign affairs correspondent Oh Soo-young explains.
North Korea appears to have toned down its level of animosity towards South Korea, despite removing references to peaceful reunification in a recent constitutional revision. That's according to Seoul's National Intelligence Service during a closed-door parliamentary meeting on Thursday. Following the reveal of North Korea's constitutional changes the previous day, the NIS briefed lawmakers that Pyongyang has clearly defined the two Koreas as separate states, but significantly scaled down hostile rhetoric towards the South. According to the revised text disclosed by Seoul's Unification Ministry, North Korea deleted references to peaceful reunification, great national unity, and the complete victory of socialism. It also added a territorial clause defining North Korea as bordering China and Russia to the north and South Korea to the south. But the constitution does not specify maritime boundary lines, such as the disputed Northern Limit Line. The revisions reflect Kim's two-states doctrine introduced 3 years ago, recasting inter-Korean ties as relations between two separate states rather than one nation awaiting reunification. However, intelligence sources say that such revisions are aimed more at managing the situation and maintaining the status quo rather than escalating hostility with the South. The NIS noted that the revisions have elevated Kim Jong-un's status by scaling back references to the legacies of former leaders Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, while emphasizing the current leader's governing principle. Kim's power in the regime has been expanded significantly. His position in the State Affairs Commission is newly defined as the head of state and placed above Parliament in the constitutional order. Kim can appoint or dismiss key officials and veto laws and state decisions. At the same time, Parliament's formal power to remove the State Affairs Commission chairman was deleted. Most significantly, the revised constitution hands Kim command authority over North Korea's nuclear forces.
Kim Jong-un also emphasized his total control of the North Korean nuclear capability, and as this state chairman of the state affairs, and he is the only one that controls the North Korean nuclear capability. At the same time, if he has been threatened or he's out of the scene, and there is automatically that the nuclear war is going to be happened. So this is another very serious warning to South Korea, United States, and the world.
The Blue House said Thursday it is reviewing North Korea's newly revised constitution and continues to pursue a policy of peaceful coexistence on the Korean peninsula. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Also, on the security front, South Korea's very own fighter jet is ready for deployment after about a decade in development. Our defense correspondent Kim Bo-kyung has details.
After undergoing rigorous verification tests, South Korea's first domestically developed fighter jet, the KF-21, is officially ready for combat. According to the Defense Acquisition Program Administration on Thursday, the KF-21 has received final operational combat certification. This means the fighter, known locally as the Borame, has met the Korean Air Force's required operational capabilities, and that the Block 1 air-to-air combat variant of the aircraft has been confirmed reliable to operate in real-world conflicts. This comes 3 years after the aircraft received a provisional operational combat assessment in May 2023. The development of the KF-21 began in December 2015, with the first official testing starting in May 2021. Over the following 5 years, through February 2026, the aircraft underwent extensive ground testing to verify durability and structural integrity, completing more than 1,600 flight tests, covering roughly around 13,000 test conditions, including area refueling and weapons launch tests. The KF-21's development program is slated to be completed in June, and the first mass-produced aircraft is to be delivered to the Air Force as early as late September. The state-run agency is planning to further secure air-to-ground combat capabilities through additional weapons testing. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
As for the latest on the legal front with regard to South Korea's short-lived martial law under the former Yoon administration, the prison term for former Prime Minister Han Duck-soo has been shortened to 15 years by the Seoul High Court. Our Yoon-jin has more.
An appeals court in South Korea on Thursday reduced the prison sentence for former Prime Minister Han Duck-soo to 15 years from 23 given by a lower court in January in relation to former President Yoon Suk-yeol's declaration of martial law on the night of December 3, 2024. The reduction by 8 years was due to the court ruling that records didn't show clear evidence of Han's active participation in the insurrection, as well as taking into consideration Han's over 50 years of public service. However, the appeals court upheld the lower court's finding that Han was guilty of engaging in key acts to help Yoon declare martial law and failed to dissuade him. During the ruling, the judge also specified that Han was aware of plans to cut off power and water supplies to some media companies during the martial law, yet again failed to prevent it. Judge Lee Seung-cheol of the Seoul High Court also highlighted that Han abandoned the grave responsibilities that come from authority and position that had been entrusted to him, including intervening in the president's wrongful exercise of authority. The judge added that afterwards Han continued to commit crimes to cover up his guilt. Meanwhile, Han stands by his denial of wrongdoing on all charges except perjury. His lawyer said he would appeal again. Yoon-jin, Arirang News.
On the technology front, a South Korean startup and the country's brain pool are stepping up to respond to demands for innovative ways to uncork interconnection bottleneck. Our business correspondent Park Jun-an tells us what this means.
NVIDIA's venture capital arm Nventures has made its first investment in a Korean startup, participating in a $76 million Series B funding round. The company develops plastic tube technology to replace conventional copper wires and optical cables inside AI data centers. This aims to resolve critical data bottlenecks, addressing the industry's growing need for faster and more efficient methods to transfer massive amounts of data.
It offers 10x more reach of copper interconnect and 3x lower power consumption, 3x lower cost, and then it gives 1,000 times better latency compared to optical interconnects.
Having already worked with NVIDIA for over 2 years, the CEO added that his company will work hard to dominate the global interconnections market, not only in data centers, but also in the automotive and consumer electronics sectors. The startup's core technology was born here at the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, or KAIST. Students here don't just study science. Here at KAIST, the message is clear. It is time for Korea's brightest minds to showcase their technological capabilities in the global stage. By developing new technologies and collaborating with global AI players, Korea is proving its role as a potential AI leader. Professor Bae Hyun-min, a co-founder of Point2 Technology and director of the Institute for Startups at KAIST, has been teaching students there since 2009. He said his experience of starting a business while studying in the U.S. taught him many aspects of the startup process, and that he wanted his students to learn from his experiences and eventually start their own businesses as well.
Because KAIST has strong research infrastructure and manpower to plan and develop new ideas, it was relatively easier to secure research funding. That allowed us to spend several years building prototypes. And once we started seeing meaningful results, we were able to attract investors and commercialize the technology.
With a commitment to fostering a robust startup environment, Professor Bae said he will do his utmost to help the next generation of engineers translate their research into global success stories. 박준환, Arirang News, Daejeon.
Meanwhile, on the K-pop front, BTS received a warm welcome from Mexican President Sheinbaum on Wednesday ahead of its concerts in Mexico City this week. The group also joined her on the balcony of the National Palace, waving to crowds that included tens of thousands of BTS fans as well as local residents. Now, BTS kicks off its first concert in Mexico City under its Arirang World Tour later on this Thursday, with 2 more shows on the schedule for Saturday and Sunday.
This is The World Now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. The cruise ship at the center of a deadly Hantavirus outbreak left Cape Verde on Wednesday and is now heading to Spain's Canary Islands. It is expected to arrive in Tenerife in 3 days. 3 more patients have been evacuated from the ship, 2 of them in serious condition. The MV Hondias is carrying nearly 150 people, none of whom are currently showing symptoms of the disease. Spain's health minister said once the ship docks, non-Spanish passengers will be repatriated to their home countries, while the 14 Spanish nationals on board will be quarantined at a military hospital in Madrid. 8 cases in total have been recorded and 5 confirmed by laboratory testing. 3 people have died. The WHO's top epidemic expert said the risk to the wider public remains low and stressed that this is not the next COVID. Israel struck a target in Beirut on Wednesday for the first time since agreeing to a ceasefire with Hezbollah last month. Israel said it was targeting a commander of Hezbollah's elite Radwan force in the city's southern suburbs. Israeli media reported the commander was killed, though neither the IDF nor Hezbollah immediately confirmed it. Lebanon's health ministry said separate Israeli strikes in the south of the country killed 4 more people. Meanwhile, in Gaza, Israeli strikes critically wounded the son of Hamas's top negotiator and killed at least 5 others.
In the U.S., Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick told congressional investigators he cannot explain why he and his family had lunch on convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's private island in 2012. His answers on Wednesday contradict his past public statements about cutting ties with Epstein years earlier. Lutnick had previously claimed he distanced himself from Epstein around 2005 after an uncomfortable encounter. Justice Department files released in January showed the 2012 island visit and emails showing Lutnick later invited Epstein to a 2015 fundraiser for Hillary Clinton. Ted Turner, the media mogul who launched CNN, died on Wednesday at the age of 87. He had been diagnosed with Lewy body dementia in 2018. Turner pioneered 24-hour TV news with CNN and built a media empire before selling Turner Broadcasting to Time Warner for $7.3 billion in 1996. In his later years, he devoted his fortune to philanthropy, donating $1 billion to United Nations charities and conservation groups. Chu Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
From this afternoon into tonight, rain is expected across the Seoul metropolitan area, inland and mountainous areas of Gangwon-do, Chungcheong-do, and western Jeollado provinces. But there won't be too much rainfall, with most areas seeing around 5 millimeters or less. Meanwhile, UV levels will be very high tomorrow between noon and 3 p.m. So if you're heading outside, don't forget your sunscreen. Tomorrow, daytime temperatures across central regions will dip slightly. Temperatures will begin to rise again over the weekend, with Saturday's high expected to reach 23 degrees Celsius. As for temperatures, Seoul will start the day at 10 degrees, Chuncheon at 9 degrees, Daegu at 12 degrees. Then by the afternoon, Seoul will get up to 20 degrees, Daejeon at 21 degrees, Busan at 23 degrees. Tomorrow on Parents' Day, light rain is expected in parts of Gangwon-do province. And as we head into the weekend, skies will clear nationwide, bringing mostly sunny and pleasant conditions.
Right, those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. As always, thank you for watching.